We got issues. Oh, we got issues. Oh, come on and work it out with us. Oh, we got some issues.
Welcome to another episode of We Got Issues.
I feel like we need that sound in the
What's
back.
that?
You know, like we normally drop it in like what mixtapes.
Yeah.
I feel like we should have that up at like stuff. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm here with April Darensbourg. I'm Tyris, Terrell, McKnight, and today we're going to have a mayoral candidate in New Orleans joining us very soon.
yes, very exciting.
Yes,
Very exciting.
and we're going to be discussing politics in New Orleans and things like that.
Mhm.
So, April, tell me about, if you could, just tell me your opinion on New Orleans politics and the state of New Orleans politics at this very moment.
So I want to first start off by saying that I really started like probably in my late 20s up to now. I started really paying attention to it. Not trying to be funny, like of course growing up in a household, people discuss politics, right? Or they mention being like Democrat or this and voting for these people or everything like that. So you know how sometimes when you're young, you kind of just follow what your people go with. I'm like, oh well, if my mama like this person, that's who we going for. If my mom's sitting here trash talking this person, then they must not be a good person, right? So I really didn't start paying attention until I got a little older, and then it really started to like I started seeing the effects of how it is with me, you know. So with everything that's going on right now with like the indictments and things like that, and just like the political climate of how it is, not even just in New Orleans, just as a whole, like it's very disheartening. And I'm hoping that, you know, whoever is elected to be our mayor really do implement changes. And I'm really focused on seeing changes when it comes to education, housing especially, because rent prices are astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
Those who were saving up to buy a house cannot buy a house,
Mm-hmm.
or can't even, like, that's one thing that's not even on my mind right now, is trying to buy a house. I always say, like, oh, I want to be that, you know, I have my kid, I want to, you know, lay down my roots, my, you know, here. And financially, I can't. Even if it's in a, even like, you know, even if it's in an area that isn't so great, that shit's still expensive.
Yeah.
You know, that's still expensive. And it's one of those things where it's like, we really need to see some change. And people, like, understand that when people are campaigning, you know, you're trying to appeal to everybody. You're trying to make everybody happy. Not saying that politicians don't believe in certain things that they're saying, because I do believe that, you know, some are passionate about certain causes. But I need the mouth to match up to the actions.
Right.
I need when they come in, like, I need them coming hard, like, you know, stepping on people's necks to get
what needs to be done.
Because we haven't seen that in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
How you feel about that?
I feel like we have a certain amount of selfish politicians that have really forgotten about the people and thought about self. Mm-hmm. And with that, destruction ensues after you do that. Once you get a certain amount of people to vote for you, to believe in you, then you don't understand at that point you got a certain amount of power too that goes along with that. So when we got people that are claiming to be with us, are claiming to be for the people of New Orleans, and they don't come through with those actions, then that's when the problems ensue. And that's when you're going to always get that pushback. And they don't realize they're working on their legacy right now. And if that's your legacy that you're leaving behind, then it's just one is going to be terrible, and one is going to end up in the indictments.
Right.
Point blank, period. Because, like, let's be honest, like, our last mayor was just horrible. Horrible. Say it one more time. Because it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? And everybody's sitting back and asking, what are you doing? And then the crazy thing is, she's still the mayor to this day. That's crazy. And you're getting indicted. You're not even a mayor elect. You're still the mayor to this day. that nobody has taken that position yet, and now you got to face indictments.
Okay, so you know how we were talking about, whoever is elected, we want them coming in ready, doing what they need to do. What would be the first thing that you would want to see? Like, what do you think would be the thing that's like, oh shoot, they mean business. They actually coming in here doing what they need to do. We're going to see some change. Like, what do you think that first step should be?
I think the first step should be economics. And I start with economics all the time. I think the first step should be them getting more things up in here, like more dealerships or more availability to money and things like that, and get more businesses drawn to New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Now, New Orleans economy, for the most part, you talk about like the Sugar Bowl, Super Bowl, all types of events, billions and billions of dollars flow through New Orleans, right? Mm-hmm. But listen, when we talk about like New Orleans, we need people to focus on the economics. We need people to focus on getting the people money, because if a certain amount of people got money and the other it's kind of
unbalanced.
Yeah, it's unbalanced, and it's almost like,
feel like it will ever be balanced, or it needs to be at least somewhat near each other, right? Like, it shouldn't be this.
Yeah.
It should at least be here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we understand that, unfortunately, there are certain jobs that have to be done, and it may not be the pay that people will want, right?
Right.
That's just certain job. Like, you know what I'm saying? And, people do have, like, conversations like, someone who works at McDonald's shouldn't be making the same money as someone who has a master's degree. That's how you feel. That's how you feel. Mm-hmm. But also, there are certain jobs that you aren't going to be making $30+ an hour on, but those jobs still need to happen, right? But people should still be paid a nice amount of wage, because we know how, how the economy is here in the city, and how the amount of money you make, sometimes you can't afford to live on your own.
Right.
Even in a little matchbox. Yeah. You can't afford that, right?
Right.
And, on top of that, people have kids. Mm-hmm. So something has to shake with the economic side, so that people are, even if they aren't owning a house right now, they can be able to say, I can pay my rent this month, and I can buy my child some clothing, or I can pay my rent this month and still be able to afford groceries for this whole month as well.
But that's part of the problem when we talk about like gentrification and displacement and things like that. Part of the problem with gentrification is we get people from like California coming down and giving Louisiana, California prices on apartments and rent and things like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, man, they can't pay that. They can't afford that. And the people that can, they're going to move in, and then it's going to basically move the residents out, the people that's been there for the longest.
Correct.
Yeah.
So even with that, like where I live now, I'm seeing, like houses being bought, things like that. A lot of new people are coming into the neighborhood. Cool beans. But also when you look at certain areas where you wouldn't even want to ride down a block on, people are buying those houses and slapping astronomical prices on them. So like you mentioned, people who grew up in that area or could afford to live there can't anymore. So you're telling me where sometimes bullet holes could fly in my home, you want me to pay $1,600 for a month?
Yeah. Yeah.
The math ain't mad. It ain't making sense.
Yeah.
But if everyone's coming in and buying all of these homes where it was once affordable to live, and you slapping them dollar prices on there, what are we to do?
Right.
What are we to do?
Right.
We're either going to pay the price and be unhappy and live in check to check, and people ever pay their loan doing something like that. You know what I'm saying? And like when people get into that kerfuffle, I guess, of things, they doing it because they gotta eat. They gotta live, right? So like you either stay there and pay that amount of money for those houses, or to rent, or you continuously move out, which you get pushed to the east. Nothing wrong with the east, but how the east has been
notoriously bad for crime, quote unquote.
And then if you don't live there because you feel unsafe, now we're entering Slidell territory. And then eventually you're moving out. You're constantly moving out because you can't afford it.
Yeah. In some cases, in a lot of cases, they're coming from LaPlace. I think LaPlace is one of those places where they're just like, because it's more of a rural area, more of a rural, quote unquote.
I have a cousin that bought her house in LaPlace. Yeah. A beautiful house, very beautiful. Yeah. On her own, homegirl doing her thing. But it's sad that you've lived here all your life and you had to move out. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And, you know, and she travels here. She travels back from LaPlace to home. Yeah. Like, to come back home to work. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where people just can't afford to live in the city anymore. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, like, and people are saying, like, we got politicians telling us that there's nothing that they could do. And I'm trying to figure out how is that possible when that's your job to do for the people. There's nothing you could do. Excuse me. Who's going to do it? Do you want the people to rise up and do it themselves? Because if that happens, they're going to be like, what's the need for politicians then? Yeah, we have to do everything on our own. Then what's the need for you guys? Mm-hmm. We put you guys in office because we have a belief system that, and maybe this is the wrong belief system. We have a belief system that you guys are going to be the change that we need to see. But if that's the case, then why aren't we as citizens just come together and be like, hey, you know what? We want to see this change. Now, forget what they talking about. We ain't following no laws. We ain't following no ordinance. We're going to do this ourselves. Forget everything they just said. We're going to break the law. We're going to do everything else. Mm-hmm. Now you got anarchy on your hands. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I feel that when the elections are going on, and we decide who we would like to vote for, mm-hmm. I feel like we rally behind them. Social media, word of mouth, we push for them. Or vice versa. Like, if there's a politician and I have their rap sheet of the shit that they done and it's bad, and I hear my mama like, oh my gosh, we need to vote for this person. I'm like, mama, slow your roll. This person has done this, and this, and this not. You know, that's not a good choice for us. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we do that to support them and to push them because they are telling us this is what we're going to do. This is what I'm going to do to make sure that we come up. And then they get in office and then we see the opposite.
Right. Well, you know, let me tell you something. Because, like, and this is from a national standpoint. Mm-hmm. Like, the Republicans have wiped the floor with the Democrats this past election. Right? And part of the reason is because of the black vote. Mm-hmm. Everybody, like, they're not, the thing was this season was the Democrats they're not facing the Republicans, they're facing the couch. Because people are choosing and electing to stay at home. Mm-hmm. Because they're saying we're voting, but we're not seeing any change. Mm-hmm. What is it about, do you think that's about the Democrat Party? Because we've been supporting the Democrat Party as black Americans, we've been supporting the Democrat Party. Mm-hmm. But what do you think is about the Democrat Party that's got us going, wait, hold on, and got them afraid to even say, black Americans, we want to do something specifically for you?
The pushback.
Okay.
It's the pushback. One, I want to pause right here, but also I feel like the Democrats be getting swept and we be getting beat up before even getting in the ring. Mm-hmm. Because they don't want to take that route that the other party is. That party gonna come in and say whatever they want, mm-hmm. do whatever they want, even if they spewing lies, even if stuff is nine facts, they're gonna do what they gotta do to get to their people so their people can hear it. They're gonna ruffle feathers. The bird ain't gonna have no feathers by the time they're done. Right. That's their angle. That's how they came in. People like, yup, following behind them. No problem. No issue. I feel like although we have a little fight in it, we don't have that. Like, you see Jasmine Crockett get a lot of pushback mm-hmm. because she sit up there and speak her mind and say what she wants. Mm-hmm. Things like that. And it's like, oh no, but it's like, oh yes. Because you hear her. Mm-hmm. Although you may not like what she's saying or you may not like her approach to it, you hear it. Okay. It's going to stick. It's going to be something that, you know, so I feel like we need more fight. I feel like you got to come out swinging. Yeah. You got to come a little crazy, you know?
We got issues We're being joined by mayoral candidate Mr. Oliver Thomas. How you doing this morning?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be April, man. And everybody can't be that good.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm feeling real good.
Good. Good to hear that.
Good, and we thank you for joining us this morning with your busy schedule. And we got a couple questions we need from you though, as citizens of New Orleans.
Yes, but first we would like for you to introduce yourself, let us know what you do now before you did decide to run for mayor. Just give everyone a little insight.
Well, I'm Oliver Thomas, born and raised in the Lower 9, graduate of College of Santa Fe in New Mexico, played basketball there. Went to the Aspen Institute in Colorado, the executive program for leadership at Kennedy School in Harvard. Only person in history of the city to be elected to 3 positions on the city council. For 9.5 years, I was out of office for 14 years. For 9 years before I ran again this time, I worked for an engineering design firm over development projects from Harris County, Houston, Alabama, Mississippi, Shreveport, all throughout the region. And for the last 3.5 years, I've been the councilman for District E.
The District E, yes, sir. So you have done a lot. You have experience in a lot of areas. You have done a lot. So what made you say, this is my time to run for mayor?
Oh, I mean, that's a really great question. Thank you. The decision was made to think about it, right, and to give it some thought a few years ago. Especially when I got elected again, and I saw system failure, right, or dysfunction, or the lack of institutional knowledge, or even more than that, the very little training for officials in critical positions, and the inability or the fact that they didn't want to work together. You know, one of the things people know about me now is before I offered my first year, I offered a letter asking the council president to have a retreat with the administration and with the council, so you could get in the room and at least work through some issues. And the issues where there's some contention, don't let that stop us from working on the stuff that the people wanted us to work together on. And of course, you see what's happened because we didn't do that. And then I offered that same opportunity again. Why? Because when I was council president, I had a retreat that the late Edgar Chase and Glenn Yancey facilitated. But other council presidents had done the same thing. When you want to lead, you want to bring folk together. You don't want to divide them. So that, to me, I saw a landscape of folk, a lack of institutional knowledge. And then the other thing was work ethic. I grew up in politics, man, learning and studying people like Dutch and Mark and Jim Singleton and Johnny Jackson and George Russo, and even folk like Peggy Wilson and Ellen Azur, Susie Terrell, folk who worked. It wasn't part-time folk. New Orleans is 24/7. And, you know, and so I just saw something that I didn't think was serving the city best. You know, lack of institutional knowledge, and everybody won't go home early.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
With that being said, Mr. Oliver Thomas, I want to ask you, what can the citizens of New Orleans expect differently from you as mayor that they would from the previous administration?
Well, no training wheels necessary. I'm a student of what was, is, and I have a vision for the future. The citizens being first, business second, and politics as a supporting entity. I want the new Orleans. I want the people like you guys to not have a seat at the table, but help build the new table. If you build a new table, you don't have to ask for a seat. Listening has always viewed leadership to me. Letting people hear their concerns is part of the platform or plan for how we run the city, as well as 21st century vision. You know, how do we expand our economic footprint? You know, how do we incentivize growth and development, not just along the river, not just downtown, but from Monticello Street to Fort Pike, and from the cutoff in Algiers to Lakeshore Drive. The entire footprint should be in play. Our natural topography, our waterways, our green space offer a lot of economic opportunities from Bayou Sauvage all the way up to Greytown.
I think Tyris and I, before you came in, we were kind of discussing just what you mentioned. He was saying that economics should be one of the things that we focus on. And with that, of course, I was thinking about how do we grow that? Like, what are the steps that we take? Do we focus on like implementing more jobs or?
Well, great question. There are tools you can use for growth. First of all, if you have a top education system, if your universities are involved, if you're producing intellectual capital, creativity, we produce cultural creativity and people capitalize on it. We don't usually maintain it here as an economic structure, but we're working to do that now. People will come to your community if you got a lot of smart people, a lot of creative people. We have a lot of smart people, creative people, but we haven't taken advantage of that. But what we do have, we have a port. We have one of the strongest tourism economies in the world per capita. Just think, this little small, glorious, grimy city had 20 million visitors before COVID. We're post-COVID, we're about to reach or exceed that number again, unless something drastic happens, right? So people love to come here. But the port, waterway, Mississippi, and I'll just use New Orleans East as an example. I want to be the first mayor to have a standalone economic development office in New Orleans East. Why? God isn't making any new land. Guess where all the land is? It's in New Orleans East, parts of Centilla, parts of the Upper Ninth Ward. But we have natural assets. Two of the busiest waterways in North America, intercoastal and industrial. They feed the 33-state tributary system. Why wouldn't we create manufacturing and distribution in waterway economics, right? And more port economics along those two waterways. We have Bayou Sauvage, the largest wildlife refuge in North America. 340 bird species. Ecotourism is a booming economy. We have roadway and railway access from Jacksonville to Santa Monica. Why would we take advantage of that? We have 9.5 miles of waterway, 5 of those 9 miles of beachfront. We have canals and green space. You know, there are communities that would pray to have our natural, our nature and natural topography and our canopy. Let's use that as an economic opportunity. And then in the East, the stereotype, people try to stereotype the East. The East is leading in violent crime reduction right now. The East has 27 subdivisions with the highest African American earners of any municipal district. I don't understand why people from here disparage the East. If I keep telling people how bad I am and how unworthy I am, why would somebody invest in me? If I live in a house and I put my house down, who's going to buy my house or invest in my house? Especially when other people don't see it. We have a Marriott in the East right now. The owner of the Marriott called me a few weeks ago and he said, "Man, what is wrong with people in New Orleans?" He said, "We invested in the Marriott in the East because crime was going down, because we see the vision for growth in this area, and people, our own people are putting it down, and it's going to affect our bookings. We are being bugged." So we have to change the stereotype, and especially before the people who are there are run out. Don't forget when Central City used to have half the murders in the city. Why didn't this stereotype or brand that community as a bad place?
So, with that being said, Ms. Oliver, what, if any, because you said that, that certain people, we vote certain people in places, but certain policies will get implemented. But as a mayor, as the mayor, what kind of policies do you plan to execute that will benefit the city of New Orleans as a whole?
Well, to me, efficiency. I would love to see benchmarks and performance plans. As a matter of fact, you're hearing, go back and look at a lot of the debates, or read my plan, otforus.com. A lot of my opponents now are using my slogans and my recommendations and platform issues. As someone who worked in private industry, we had benchmarks and performance plans.
It's kind of like they do in education, how they track it.
Period, So I would love to get together with civil service early and say, hey, look, let's not just meet around disciplinary issues. Or when you're fighting to protect an employee, or I may be fighting to try to get one dismissed. Let's talk about how we set up a work environment where we can produce. And I think that makes sense to me. The other thing is I want to survey the city for growth. I'd love to work with the Planning Commission and my Economic Development Office. And don't forget now, I'm going to have an economic development office downtown, but I'm also going to have one in New Orleans East, and a branch looking in Algiers for growth opportunities. Let's survey the land and the need based on what the economic trends are the world growth now. I mean, you can't just take a look at what you do in the region or the state or the nation anymore. I mean, you can supply the world from anywhere now. So where do we fit? You know, how do we build another economy to support and complement our culture economy, to support and complement tourism? How do we change the stereotype that we're just a good place to visit, but you don't want to stay there? I want to be the first mayor with an Office of Education. You know, I know I don't have any charter or constitutional oversight over the school board, but I need to have a relationship with the superintendent. How do we expand universal access to early childhood education for all kids? How do we expand the city seats program? You know, so there's a lot of things that I can do, but also how do we make business people feel more comfortable, right? I want to get permits out quicker in all time. I'm the only one talking about provisional permits. If a person is in good standing and they have all their state permits and licenses, and if there's 1 or 2 boxes left to check, give them the provisional permit so they can start doing commerce, so they can open. You know, how do we build on our cultural economy? Don't just punish the guy or the gal selling frozen cups without a license or cooking on the grill at the second line. How do we incorporate them into the economy? So a lot of ideas about that, but making City Hall more efficient. If you pay for twice a week pickup, you ought to at least be able to count on the one day. And if they miss the one day, you shouldn't wait till next week. You got the contractor should have 48 hours to come back. If they pave my new street, then you come and dig a hole in the middle of my new street, and I got to wait a year? No, 90 days to come back. 911 calls shouldn't be 2 minutes, 10 seconds. Any second after that could mean life or death. So, efficiency, performances, expectations, accountability, but also the best people in critical positions.
Okay. All right. I would like to pivot just a little and kind of discuss housing. When we were gathering questions, we asked some families, some friends, even online, like what would they want to ask, someone who was a candidate. And a lot of people were housing and how rent seems to be astronomical. A lot of people aren't able to rent or afford to live where they once grew up. You kind of see a lot of Airbnbs are in place in a lot of places, or even those who are from out of town buy up real estate, and it just makes it very difficult to once afford where you live. Like, I am from uptown, and I love that area, grew up in that area, and I can't afford to live there, even though I have a master's degree, taking care of my child, things like that. And we just wanted to know, is there a plan to address it, or even to
absolutely. OTforus.com, and I need to get some credit. I had the first plan out. It's actually my people in the race are actually using full portions of my plan because it's correct. Now, my 10,000 new affordable house idea is working with housing experts in the region, financial investors, banks, institutions. How do we reprogram CBDG funds for soft seconds? How do we prioritize first responders to get breaks, whether they want to rent or own? And then to work with the legislature to increase the homestead exemption. If we can increase the homestead exemption, that could potentially lower costs by up to 20%, especially with these escalating insurance costs now that we don't control at the city level, that is controlled at the state level. But there has to be conversations with our state officials and our governor to talk about how do we mitigate those costs until they start to come down. But also, I want to bring back the Ross Pashos of the world, and the Wilbur Thomases and Lauren Andersons and Fred Johnsons, and some of the minds that were really good at housing when we used to have these different organizations in parts of the city, and you know, rely on the experts. But we got space, but also to convince folk that affordable housing now isn't just subsidized housing.
Right.
Young professionals like yourselves can't move back into communities that were affordable to them. So that's not somebody who's trying to get a subsidy, you know, somebody who's trying to get a voucher.
Just like to live in the area, just like, at a reasonable rate.
And you can't go back. Looming crisis in affordable New Orleans is. I was the only elected official with the press conference with Deborah Campbell and Beth Butler and others. Reverend Manning was also there, talking about how we work to stabilize utility rates, make housing affordable, and offer opportunities, man. The school board and the city own so much property and land. If we could donate it, that would help underwrite the cost, because then you wouldn't have, the developers wouldn't have to pay for the property or pay for the land. So then the cost could be cheaper. So there are a lot of different things that are.
Yeah. And you know, this may be a selfish question, because you know I am in the film industry. Now, at one point, New Orleans was said to be Black Hollywood.
Hollywood South was another one,
yeah, because of the incentives, the film incentives and things like that. But since then, that's been taken away, and we've seen certain things move to Atlanta.
Yeah, the state took away a lot of the incentives that actually the state legislature and the governor. I'm hearing they're looking at now, kind of realize what they lost. We're looking to restore that, and it needs to come back. You know, I worked in the film industry. I've interviewed you about your film. So no, those incentives need to come back. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we need to take advantage of it.
Yes, sir. And with that question, I want to know, and because I'm always thinking ahead, I'm always thinking toward the future. What are you going to do to prepare New Orleans into the future? Because I feel that, and I think we talked about this before in many interviews, I feel that New Orleans sometimes is afraid of change or allergic to it.
Yeah, but Elvin Ross, man, shout out to Elvin Ross. Not enough people talk about him. He's got the first lease with the Bayou Phoenix Development Group at the old Six Flags site. He's with that area is 90% demolished now, but he's got a plan for the Ross Studios now. Expanding on his relationship with Tyler Perry, our homeboy. And man, his plan is one of the most exciting. I think it'll be a great public-private partnership there, and they're already designing and planning out that location. Anthony Mackie purchased a large swath of land in New Orleans, same place in New Orleans East, to take a look at how we begin to do that. Look, the industry is going to come back here. I think the state starting to realize that we lost something that matters, and something that made a difference economically as well as socially and creativity. And we just need to make sure that we have a footprint that can invite them back in a place where we can just produce and also make films. Because they can't get the culture and our flavor. They can't get our architecture. They can't get this flow anywhere else, no matter how big the studio is.
This is true. Yeah. Another question, especially for my young folks or even our older folks who really don't understand how things are ran or like the time frame it takes, because of course we'll mention like, hey, this is what we want done, but it may take a minute to get it signed, sealed, and delivered. Like things take time because, sometimes we want everything fast. We want it quick. And if we don't see it in the time frame that we want it, we're like, oh, he's not doing anything or she's not doing anything. Like, can you give a little insight on how that process goes?
Well, I would just tell people who don't understand that, pull out their old baby pictures. Then pull out their adolescent pictures. Then pull out your teenage pictures, and then look at yourself now. It didn't just happen.
Right.
But I don't think a lot of things should take as long as they do, to be honest with you. But that's kind of a culture now of work ethic. Right now, we hear people talking about that. There are studies for a couple of younger generations now that say more are getting fired quicker, and many don't even want to apply to work. And those are not my stats; those are international and national stats. So we need leaders that motivate folk to go to work. My father used to say, if when you leave the house in the morning, if you tell your family you're going to work, don't lie to them. Go work. And nobody can give you more than you can pour into yourself. But no, I think systems do take too long. But I think it's leadership, it's organization, it's how we choose to function, and it's whether we give a damn.
That's true.
But patience is virtue, but not when it costs you money. Too much patience can make you broke, especially in business. We need to be quicker and more efficient about how we do business here.
Also, I have another one. This is for also my youth as well. And with programs or things for the children to do. I have a 6-year-old. She goes to gymnastics, and I hope she becomes Simone Biles because it costs me a little fortune, right? Yeah. So, but for those parents who aren't able to say, hey, I have $200 a month to put that aside for my child to be in some kind of curriculum, football costs, even if it's at a park, things like that. I see a lot of times, of course, kids, they focus a lot on social media, things like that, because that's what they're into. But there are also kids who can tap into their creative side, things like that. Do we have anything or any ideas for like the youth and things that they can get into to keep them busy?
Yeah, man. Great question, man. I was just talking to a friend of mine, man, like a little brother family, and his conversation was around, man, making sure we increase the budget for NORD and for youth activity. It's a different world today. We make sure we expand opportunity. I have to keep it 100, right? I'm one of those people who learned that when a lot of young folks say they don't have anything to do, I used to say, yeah, there was always something to do. Yeah, but not if it doesn't interest you, right? So I have a 15-year-old, and my little man, he made 9 last Saturday. So he doesn't like the quote-unquote traditional sports like me. I grew up playing football, basketball, and baseball. He likes soccer. We don't have a soccer team in my neighborhood. His cousins like esports. They don't want to run, sweat, go outside with no one. But they'll play sports on the computer, on an iPad. We need to be flexible enough and creative enough to reprogram recreation. Your daughter should have a gymnastics program that's not going to break you and your family. Somewhere within the vicinity, drivable, for you to take her, especially if that cost is a burden to you. So I want to sit down with the very best minds, parents like yourself, and say, hey, look, where do you live? What is your need in terms of recreation, hobbies, and what can we do collectively? Survey who has those skill sets. Who's willing to volunteer or work within the structure to provide that service, and have organized activity at least one park in every neighborhood. I think that's critical.
Now, this may be a hot button topic.
I mean, you said that 3 times already.
All right, I'm just, sometimes I can be considered a controversial person. You know what I'm saying? By many people. Yeah. So, the majority population in New Orleans is made up of Black Americans, right? Now, with an increase in population and the influx of illegal immigrants and implants from different cities coming into the city, what are your views on the city being considered a sanctuary city?
Well, first of all, if there's a path to citizenship, you should take the legal path, period. But there shouldn't be a clash. I mean, ICE shouldn't raid work sites, right? Or people, in many cases, and I'm going to say it like this, they say a lot of people are here illegally, but they were brought here by legal businesses. They were lured here by some of the very same people who are anti-immigration. So why did you bring them here, right? or if you were going to bring them here, why didn't you set up a process with immigration so they could go through the process? Because you knew that as long as they had the legal status, you could pay them what you want, and you could take advantage of their labor. So in many cases, we're looking at the bottom end of it, but not the top end of it. Because why? People aren't paying the cartels $15,000, $20,000, and $25,000 to come here because somebody hasn't set it up to do that, or because it's not in their best financial interest. Now, I'll say this. Illegal immigrants who are violent, who have committed crimes, should not be here. I grew up in the lower Ninth Ward. Our neighborhood was raided of black men and boys for the least thing they did. Mandatory minimums. They were put in prison for stealing a candy bar. 3 strikes, you're out. So I don't believe we should sanction anyone who's broken the law or breaking the law, period.
So with that, do you think that those businessmen that bring those illegal
They should be punished too.
accountable? Right. Right.
They should be held accountable also. That's absolutely correct.
Yes, sir.
If you're gonna punish those folk, then well, hold on a second. How come? You mean to tell me you can't punish the folk who brought them here, or who enticed them here? And if you're gonna bring them here and you're gonna use them, pay them. Man, I've had so many brothers and sisters, man, who were brought here illegally to go to work, and then you find out they thought they would get one salary or one hourly wage, and they were given another. Punish those businesses.
So,
And you did mention the Ninth Ward. I work there a couple days out of the week, and I see a lot, like there are businesses that are popping up, which is great, rightfully so. Also, we kind of still see that there is a little bit of a need for a little bit, maybe even like another grocery store, even if it's small, just so that the the residents there do not have to drive to Chalmette to go to the Walmart, or that they can stay within their community to get those things. What would that look like, for them?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because I just did $2 million to do a plan and to help underwrite a grocery store looking at New Orleans East as well as the Lower Ninth Ward. We've been meeting with residents over the last year and planning about what's the best location. So that's happening right now. A couple of days ago, I was with Bloomberg TV down by Burnell, close by his supermarket, man. Burnell was one of the first people who came back and invested in a little store in Galvez in Cavan, with Bloomberg, with the interview with him. But right now we're looking at location and the best place to put one. So that's underway.
My last question. The MLK school in the Ninth Ward has been shut down, reportedly due to low test scores. Many community leaders are advocating for it to reopen, noting that if it remains closed, the neighborhood will be left with a vacant building that costs more than $38 million to construct. Beyond this, families across the city continue to express deep frustration with the One App system, me personally, which I've found it difficult, especially with having one child. A lot of times, those who have multiple kids, they're able to get their children in like the same school or a better school. I have been struggling. Given the education in our city, I want to say that it's struggling, but per se, we see that a lot of kids, depending on their age bracket, they're having difficulty with reading.
Or not at grade level, yeah.
Especially not on grade level, which I had to, for my kid, I hired a tutor just to get her along, right? What can we expect from you as mayor to address these concerns?
Well, first of all, great question. I want to be the first mayor to have an Office of Education. I know it's not our constitutional charter authority, but the mayor needs to be lockstep with the superintendent of schools, and the city council and the school board needs to be on the same page. So I want to convene meetings around that. Shout out to Doris Hicks, Ms. Cook, Coach Mack, Mr. Rakesh, and all those people who fought to bring education back to the Lower Ninth Ward. I was born and raised.
Did you graduate from Clark?
I went to McCarty, Lawless, and Clark, right? So on that site where one of the schools are, both sites. So it's important to me. My family still owns property. I'm related to probably half the people who live in the lower Ninth Ward. So we can't dismiss the fact that you have a state-of-the-art facility that's not being used. Makes no sense at all. Period. It's an education facility. Shouldn't be a staging area for the police or some type of public service. Something around human development, education ought to be happening there, preferably for the children. Hopefully, real soon, you're going to see this mayor fight to make sure that building is back in operation, because that location is personal to people like me, Fred Luda, and many other people who went to school at Lawless on that site. And the residents of the Lower Ninth Ward, man, first of all, the Lower Ninth Ward offers so much growth opportunity. It can't be an afterthought when we talk about education. Now, one app sometimes ought to be don't apply app. And I don't know what the fair way to do it is, but for parents like you and others who contribute to the system, who want the best for their kid, something better has to happen. And the system can't be proficient at just making sure that kids go from D school to D school, C school to D school, F to D and C. So I don't know what a fairer lottery system would be, but it can't punish people who are trying to find the best situation for their children. And I just think maybe that's something we can work together to figure out. But no, I mean, that's important that community, those buildings be used to the max. And I want to see schools be open in the evening too, like it used to be. I'm the only elected official that sponsors an after-school program at Aaron Elementary because I think it's important. I would encourage other officials and other businesses to do that other places, mentoring and after school. And the reality is, home life and neighborhood life can be tough for some kids. The safe haven for many of them is the time they're at school. So we can give them a couple extra hours, man, so they help with their homework and they can go home and rest and sleep. And what about some parental classes? You know, what about the family coming to school from 3:30 to 5:30, 6, right? It's not uncommon. It happened in the past when I was growing up. Let's bring that family type of environment back.
I love that. We do need to see that, especially. So, last but not least, I have just a little game. It's kind of like a this or that, but it's New Orleans edition.
This or that.
Kind of this or that. What do you prefer more? Right? Okay.
I can do this.
Okay. Gumbo or crawfish etouffee?
Gumbo,
okay. Saint Sundays or second line Sundays?
Second line, baby. First line. Second line, first line.
A streetcar ride or a bus ride?
Streetcar.
A shotgun style house or more so like a townhouse cottage vibe?
Town cottage vibe.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, me and shotguns don't get along. Uptown's Cajun seafood or downtown Cajun seafood?
Well, you know I'm downtown, boy. Come on down.
Uptown person, I definitely agree. I prefer downtown. It's a little bit more. Plum Street Snowball or Pandora Snowball?
Ooh. Plum.
They have the pail. They give you they give you the bag to put it in. They're considerate.
Yeah, icy smooth, yeah. Smooth with
a bad boy
with a pH on the end.
Okay. Do you prefer early voting or voting day of?
I like voting on the day, but early voting is so important now. I like voting the day of. I got that from my mom. Before she died, when she was voting, I would take her. And the pleasure for her was seeing her friends, the people from the neighborhood, going to vote. And I like, because it's a conversation, you know, so I like voting the day of.
City Park or Audubon Park?
City Park.
Shrimp po' boy or hot sausage po' boy?
Shrimps. Bro. You see me my scrubs, baby. Yeah, a little extra mayonnaise, right?
See, I knew you got to put the extra
Extra mayonnaise,
mayo. It's
ketchup.
that extra
Hey,
mayo.
Nah, but let me make you laugh, baby. My daddy used to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would pile on the mayonnaise, right? And I couldn't see it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who'll do the same thing? Me.
I definitely can agree. And of course, this is a no-brainer. Are we voting or we're not voting?
We vote.
We're voting, and we're advocating and wanting to push for our younger people, our older people to vote.
Please
think,
vote.
like, a couple years ago was my first time that my dad voted, and he's in his 60s. And bringing him to vote with me was one of the best things I ever felt.
I want to give a shout out on that topic. Reverend Calhoun, Roe Brown, I think it was Miss Bernard and members of the Lower Ninth Ward Coalition years ago did a piece at Oliver Bush, Otis Tucker's family's Park Bush Playground, right? And people had been voting for 50 years or more. Mm-hmm. And I brought my mom to that. She was alive. And then they had people, guys like Mr. Larkin, my mom who died at 92, Mr. Larkin had, I think that was 101, Ms. Vera, Mr. Edinburgh and others. And to hear their stories about voting. Mm-hmm. And that had not missed an election and why it was important. Man, I wish that they would have done a documentary or chronicled that piece. Mm-hmm. But it was the testimony. Terrell was a filmmaker, man. The testimonies were powerful. And to hear my mom say that there was no question whether she would register to vote or when it's time to vote, that they wouldn't vote. Mm-hmm. Because the stakes were always too high. And they know what it costs them not to participate. I'd love to see that type of effort, that those types of interviews come back.
All right. Maybe I can make that happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you make a lot of stuff happen as a talented producer and filmmaker. We're talking about voting right now, and I think a lot of times, young folks say they don't fool with politics. Well, they fool with you. Mm-hmm. And to hear those stories, especially my mom's deceased now, Mr. Edinburgh is deceased now, Mr. Larkin is gone now, but just to hear those stories that day about why and why it was important, I think everybody needs to hear that.
Very much so.
Me too.
All right, y'all. There you have it.
There we have it.
We appreciate you so much, Mr. Oliver, for coming in.
And if you got issues, if you got issues, talk about it so you don't pull out your tissues. and then you don't wish you had done something about it, because if you don't do something about it, it'll do something to you. You got issues.
We got issues.
And that's a wrap. Thank you so much.